I'm going to give you a real life example of how to sight fish from the bank today. Welcome back to the Googan Lab. Sight fishing is really exciting and you can catch some really big fish this way, but some of the bigger ones are tricky to catch and they are looking at you. Oftentimes if you can see the fish, they can see you too. So we're going to go over some tips that'll help you catch some good bass from the bank. So you can sight fish in the spring when bass are spawning. You can use this technique in post-spawn when bass are guarding fry, and anytime that you see bass up in the shallows chasing prey. So this can be in the summertime, just anytime they're up there chasing prey up shallow. Now the first thing you gotta have is a pair of polarized sunglasses to do this. This is gonna give you a huge advantage over not having them, and you can see in those little areas just where those bigger bass like to be, where it's often out of your sight if you don't have polarized sunglasses. So the bigger ones usually are a little bit deeper. And so get you a good pair of polarized sunglasses, block that glare, and you'll see a ton more in the water. Now when you're walking along and you actually do spot a fish, don't just run up there to it and see what it's gonna do. See if it's like scared of you. Stop right there like you've just seen a snake and just back up, and I want you to take a land marker. If there's anything on land that is next to that fish or in the water, take a note of that in your mind, because oftentimes if you rush up on that fish and go to cast, it's gonna see you and it'll spook off, especially if you're in the springtime and there's a lot of anglers fishing that pond or that lake bank. Another good tip is start with something that is very natural and doesn't have a big splash in the water. And for me, that's a weightless bait. I love to throw a wacky rig like this Lunker Log right here, or I'll throw a shad style bait like a dart or something like that just kind of glides, and it's not putting out a lot of presence in the water, because you want to figure out the attitude of that fish right away and see if it's just going to spook off and not come back, or if maybe it sees your bait, maybe it does a circle. But oftentimes if you throw something big in there, it'll spook them off right away, especially if you make a splash. So it's a lot easier to start off with something weightless. The other thing you got to do is get into a predator mindset yourself. So I want you to find any sort of background cover that might help you out. If you got a clear, bright, sunny day, if there's any shade around, if there's a tree, something that's casting a shadow and you can still cast that fish, get in that shadow. Because fish, when they get up in shallow water, they're in their brains, they're looking for birds, things that are around the bank that could get them. So they're always going to have an eye peeled for that. So if you can stay in the shadows, have some background cover, that definitely helps. But the best thing that you can do if you don't have any of that is take a land marker where that fish is, throw in there, and then just back up where the fish feels comfortable with your distance. And so you have to be able to see that fish, watch it for a little bit, see what it's going to do. If it's sticking around, you throw in there, let your line out, back up until that fish feels comfortable with your distance, and then you can wait and feel that bite and set the hook. Now, we got a fish over here. It's about a 2.5 pound male largemouth. We're on a new moon. There's fresh fish coming in, and we've just discovered a fish right here. Haven't casted to it yet, so we're gonna see what it's gonna do. So I'm gonna sneak up to the edge till I just start to see the fish. I don't want to get any closer than I have to. Just gonna peek around. The big thing that stands out on a bass is their tail, because it's black. And so that's usually the first thing that you'll see. So you want to look for that black tail, and I do see the fish. Okay, it just saw me right there, and it took off, but it came back and is doing a circle, and it looks like it might stay in the bed. So I'm just going to take a few steps back. I know exactly the rock that I need to cast at. There's a little sandy spot, and that sandy spot is usually the heart of the bed, and that's going to be the area the fish is going to react to the most. So I'm just going to whip out my little Lunker Log here. I'm just going to pitch it out. I'm going to go past the bed. So I don't want to splash it right on top of it. I'm going to go past it about 10 feet, and then I'm just going to take my rod tip and I'm going to work the bait into where the fish is. So let's see what happens here. Just going to work the bait into that general direction. I'm going to try to see what the fish does when this bait gets close. If it doesn't attack it, I'm just going to let it sink into the bed. All right, didn't attack it, so I'm just gonna let it fall. The fish is looking at it right now. So right away, I know this fish is most likely catchable because it's looking at my bait. It's not taking off. It's not leaving. It might take a little work to catch this fish. Might have to switch up some baits, but it's definitely not taking off. And that's why I like to start with the weightless bait, because now I know this fish is catchable here. So I'm gonna make a few more casts with this and see what it does. If I don't get bit on this, then I'm gonna switch to the Texas rig. We'll just try to get him here. Oh. He almost ate it at the surface. That was awesome. So he actually came up and he did kiss the bait. He touched it. He's investigating it and seeing what it is. So now I know that this fish is definitely catchable. It touched my bait with its nose, and sometimes you'll see they start getting tighter circles, and their pectoral fins will start flaring out. That means they're getting mad. It means you're getting close to catching that fish. What I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna switch up to a 4-inch Lunker Log because he's eaten this twice. It's a little bigger than he's wanting to eat. So if you switch to a smaller bait, they almost have to get the whole thing in their mouth. Whereas a longer bait, they can kind of get the sides of it or the tails. There we go. Let's get him. All right, I'm just gonna let it sit there, see what happens. There he is. Got him. Here we go. Woo! Man, that was cool. Come here, buddy. Come right over here. I'm gonna land him right in the dirt. Man, this fish is pulling good. So I stuck with that weightless bait, and he eventually just got it. Got him right in the schnoz. Whew, that was fun, y'all. Nice little male bass right there. And just working that wacky rig, he could not stand it. He was hitting it so much. I stuck with it, switched to a smaller bait, and I got him. So it's important to let the fish go right where you catch them, especially when you're sight fishing, because they're gonna go right back to that bed. So if you want to, take a quick photo, but just get them back in the water fast. Go back and make some babies. Boy, got a big one right here. I'm having to wait for this fish to go back to its bed position. So a lot of times what they do is when they get a little spooked is they'll move away from the bed, they'll stare at it, they'll move a little deeper or go to some sort of cover, and they'll be looking at it, but they won't go in there. So I'm just waiting for this fish to get back in there. That's when it's the most juiced up. And again, that light approach just seems to work. I just got bit again. So we've given this fish about 30 minutes to kind of settle down, and it's nosed right back into the bed, so we're gonna try it again. But that first time is key. So keep your eyes open. When you see that fish, remember where it's at, stay hidden. It's just so tucked in there. Got it. Oh, get away from that log. Get away from that log. You don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. No. All right, where are we going to land this fish? Stay away from that log. Okay. Come on, baby. Oh my gosh. Get out of those reeds. Come here. Oh man. Good fish. I have no idea where I'm going to land this fish. I got to jump down on the wall here. Just going to have to get in there with it. Come here, fish. Come here. Come on, baby. Come on. Yes! Yes! Look at that, y'all. That's awesome. Oh my gosh, that's a 4-pounder at least, probably 4.5. The first one I hooked was even bigger than that. It's so crazy, but just wanted that little wacky rig, just slow sinking right in front of its face. Man, what a fish. Woo! That's awesome. Follow those tips, and I think you're gonna find yourself catching more fish, sight fishing from the bank. So thanks for tuning in. If you want to see more tips, you know what to do. Subscribe right here to the Googan Lab.